We are coming up on 9:14. The race for the White House already heating up more than a year before Election Day.
Republican candidates and party leaders are gathering in Washington for a Faith and Freedom Coalition event.
Attorney and Western Carolina University political science professor Dr. Todd Collins is joining us this morning. Good to have you here with us, Dr. Collins.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
What are we expecting for this weekend of speakers and events, really kind of a rally for the Republicans?
Right. And, every candidate running in this primary is trying to separate themselves from Trump and make a name for themselves. And that's really hard to do. In a lot of ways, former President Trump has the same advantages as an incumbent that's already still sitting in office. And so when you're running in a primary against someone of your own party that's an incumbent, that's a really hard thing to do. Trump is not an incumbent, but he has some of those same advantages, such as name recognition. He has the experience. Has had this job before. So if you're running against him, you have to separate yourself from him without necessarily separating the base. And as we know, former President Trump is still very popular. Even with the indictments, things like that, those that are loyal to him are still sticking by him. And so you have to do something as a candidate running against him to convince people that you would be the better candidate. And that's a really hard thing to do when you have a popular individual who's held this office before, who is almost like an incumbent and has a lot of those same advantages, even though he's not sitting in that office right now.
So we know, Dr. Collins, that Trump is there. We know that some of the other names of significant note, former Vice President Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, Patrick McHenry. The list continues to go on, Ted Budd and others. What are they going to say? What are we expecting to hear them say that might unite the GOP party? Because there's still kind of a lot of infighting going on.
Yeah, again, if you're a candidate running against Trump for this primary, again, you have to find a way to separate yourself. I think one way maybe you could do that, it can't be all just we're against Biden or we're against the Democrats, because Trump pretty much has that handled, right? So you have to find something else, and that may be trying to take a more positive, moving forward message. Tim Scott has kind of done that somewhat. He's had kind of a more positive, what we're going to do when we're in there, as opposed to just anti-Democrats. But that's not getting a lot of sticking power right now either. So you have to find some way, again, to separate yourself. Perhaps that may be not necessarily at this event, but on the campaign trail, trying to say how you would be the better candidate in the general election. One thing we have to remember is that primary voters, both for Democrats and Republicans, are very different than those in the general election. They're usually a bit more extreme, either more conservative on the Republican side or more liberal on the Democratic side. So you've got to find a way to connect not only to those general voters that will be there that maybe aren't paying as much attention to the primaries, but also the base and those core supporters of Trump. So again, trying to find some ground where you can differentiate yourself from Trump, but also not alienating those people that are still loyal to him.
If the election were tomorrow, it appears it would be a rematch of what we had the last presidential election year. What's the political appetite from the electorate to see the same thing again?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big issue. I think we're burned out for good or bad on these two candidates. I don't think anybody wants to see 2020 happen again, but it is looking like it may be that way. Of course, it's still a long time to the general election. A lot of things can change. So you do have burnout. I'm wondering what turnout may look like in 2024 if we have the same candidates. You're obviously going to have a lot of the same arguments. So far, Trump has seemed to be kind of re-arguing those same things from 2020, again, claiming that he won 2020. So that's going to be an issue again. I think for the Republicans to move forward and to try to coalesce, it's got to be something more than just anti-Democrat, anti-Biden. I think the same is true for the Democrats as well. It can't be all anti-Trump. That both parties need to have a positive message about what they would do to make the country better. And that may come out. I mean, this is one event where if, again, in the 90s and 2000s, the Republicans were a lot about family values. We don't hear a lot of that kind of on the Trump side. So that may be another way where a candidate can separate himself or herself from President Trump, going back to those kind of core things we were hearing from Republican candidates in the 90s and 2000s. we hear a lot about abortion. This event should have more about family values and things like that. That may be another way a candidate can kind of separate themselves somewhat from Trump.
There are some 43 million evangelicals that voted in 2020, and so this is an important base for the GOP. We'll see what gets discussed over the next couple of days in Washington. Dr. Todd Collins with Western Carolina University, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great morning.